The former Alabama boy got paid, Tristan. Tua Tagovailoa got his bags. He put them in his car. He's driving off. He's hopefully going to go pay for some more jiu-jitsu lessons to stay safe this season coming up and maybe invest in a bubble suit. 4-year, $212.4 million deal with $167.1 million guaranteed, $42 million signing bonus, and $93.1 million guaranteed at signing. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you about Green Bay. Did the Dolphins make a good choice, or did they make a mistake?
I think it's a mistake.
Okay.
This goes back to the bigger contract, and I don't want to repeat ourselves. I understand supply and demand. I don't think Tua Tagovailoa is worth $53 million a year, or whatever you want to say. $93 million guaranteed at sign, and that's paid. The earliest out for the Dolphins in this contract, potential out, 2027, 3-year, $152.1 million with a $19 million dead cap hit. So that's the earliest.
I think this makes him like the third highest paid quarterback, right? Technically.
Yeah, it might be behind Love now. He's somewhere in the top 5. As you said, it's leapfrog. You just constantly leapfrogging the other.
That's all it is.
One of the questions surrounding Tua and him getting paid is, would another quarterback look this good in this system? So if you take someone like Jordan Love and put him in this system with Mike McDaniel, does he look better than Tua? If you take someone like Dak Prescott and put him in this situation, Trevor Lawrence in this situation, I think that's one of the things some people wonder is, does this system excel because of Tua, or is Tua excelling because of the system? Because if you look at his numbers last season, 4,624 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, an 11-6 record. But the same thing seems to happen with the Dolphins the past 2 years. They kind of start hot, look good, they're high-flying offense, but when they have to go and play on the road or play good teams or play in the cold, they collapse. And at the bottom line, at the end of the day, for me, Tua looked bad in the Kansas City game. Oh, I understand it was really cold. I'm sorry, you play in the AFC. You better get used to throwing the ball in the cold. If you want to win Super Bowls, particularly going through the AFC, you have to win in cold weather. That is football in January. Jordan Love was able to look good in the postseason. I know he didn't have to go to Kansas City, but by the way, Jordan Love beat Kansas City in the regular season. Tua couldn't even do that. They lost in Germany. So I haven't seen enough from Tua for me to give him this contract. I've seen Tua running a system successfully, but once you give Tua this contract, you're not going to get to have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and all these speedy weapons all over the place. So it's kind of a similar debate as we talk about Brock Purdy. How is he going to look once he starts to lose some of these weapons? I think right now you say, yeah, let's lock up the quarterback. But in a few years, when the roster is a little bit more depleted, and it's depleted now on defense, by the way, I don't know if Tua looks as good as he has these last season. And it's not like he looked spectacular last season. He looked good. So I don't think he warranted this contract, but I understand that the Dolphins thought they were in a tough situation.
I'm actually going to disagree with you a little bit here. I do think he deserves this contract, and it goes back to kind of what I was saying before, right, with the supply and demand, because if Miami doesn't pay him, they don't have a lot of options to turn to. Tua is a successful quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's within the top 10. I think last year he finished like 10 QBR overall, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think he warrants this money solely for the fact that he is able to win. Now, my Buffalo Bills own Miami, and we'll talk about that later. But I think that the days of Tua playing risky are over, right? So 2022, he dealt with the injuries. 2023, he found a way to stay healthy all year. There's still teams that constantly beat Miami, and Miami gets down to those close games. They usually start out heavy. They go down to the wire. Toward the end of the year, it gets rough, and the Bills come back and beat them again, or the Patriots may turn around and beat whoever it is. They find these ways to lose the games they're supposed to win. And with Tua, there's been weapons that have been added in this offseason that make them a very talented team, but even more talented than they were last year. The time for him to earn his money and earn the idea that they paid him what he was worth is now. So if he doesn't put up, then then you can say they made a mistake. But as of right now, before the season starts, brother, you had no other way to go. You had to pay the man. I don't think it's a mistake.
Why not just hold out, though? Why not just wait and say, well, we'll see after the season? Because I know Tua would have pitched a fit, but I don't think he was going to hold out.
Who would you rather have, Dak or Tua?
Oh, Dak.
Really?
I think
you'd rather have Dak in this offensive scheme.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Tua works perfectly for this scheme, and I think he's just going to keep getting better.
Well, I think he works perfectly for the scheme because the scheme is tailored to his talents. Like, that's what good coaches tailor their scheme to the personnel, to the players they have. I think that's what Mike McDaniel has done. Tua is a great short ball thrower. He gets the ball out quick. He's accurate. That's what they utilize. But that is so dependent on speed. And when you lose that speed, I know we've still got Hill and Waddle this year, or when you're in cold games, like in Kansas City, Tyreek Hill was literally getting bullied. I mean, he was getting bullied off the line. He couldn't do anything. And we've seen Tua just not do anything in the playoffs. It's not even that he's just awful, but he doesn't get anything going for his team. And that's the bottom line to me. When you're paying someone $54, $55 million a year, they have to be a difference maker. I can't pay someone who's just solid and running an offense $55 million a year. I could pay someone like that 40. Now, I know Tua wouldn't accept that, but I would have a hard time sleeping at night because you're going to have Tua show that he can win multiple playoff games to feel justified in signing this contract. And when the AFC is so stacked at quarterback, think about even the young ones like CJ Stroud, I'm worried that he's going to just fall behind the race.
Yeah, I mean, you make valid points, right? But I think at this point in time, because if they didn't pay him, I understand the whole holdout thing, and they could have gone that route. But at the end of the day, that's just bad blood because they know that eventually they're gonna. So if they held out, then what, right? Like, what's the next move then?
If you hold out, you hold out and see how this season goes, and if he.
But then what?
Well, it depends on how he plays. I mean, if he
puts up a season as good as last year, you still have to pay him, right?
Well, you don't have to, but to me, it boils down more to beating good teams and playoff success because they look good against bad teams, but they look mediocre against good teams.
Yeah. So say he repeats, say they held out. He repeats what he did last season this year in 2024, the end of this season, beginning of 2025. Would you be more okay with them paying him then?
No, I'd be less okay.
Okay.
Personally.
But I think it's just kicking the can down the road, right? I think the outcome would have been the same either which way, right? So it's we pay him now or we pay him next year. It doesn't matter because we're going to eventually keep him. Because
if that's what you think, then you pay him now.
Because the other option is where are you going to go get at the draft? Because we know that the quarterback draft class this year is not looking too great.
That's true.
So like, who are we going to turn to? So now we get to the end of 2024 and we say, well, we made Tua hold out. Well, now he's going to cost us more.
Yeah.
And now he's just going to demand a higher, number after that cash symbol. So
right.
I don't disagree with them paying him now.
Yeah, I see it from that standpoint. And again, we don't have anyone doing what I'm saying, so it's hard to know if it would work or not because the teams don't do it.
Well, I'm also taking all these stats you just gave me, and I'm just throwing them over this shoulder right
here.
Yeah,
you said
because
it
just doesn't
out.
matter.
Bye-bye.
We have to. This is all business right now. It doesn't matter. It matters some. He's a sufficient quarterback. He can get the job done, and that's who they have to pay right now.
Yeah, and you can't win games in the AFC without a quarterback, to back up your point. You have to have at least a good quarterback if you want to win games in the AFC. So I understand it. I think it's probably going to end up being a mistake, but they are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I get it. You're right there. This is why GMs and these teams get paid, these people get paid a lot of money because these are not black and white decisions. They're very difficult.